Yo, it's your boy Uncle Pre with another episode of the Unfltered Podcast. We are here back in the nice studio again. That's not to say the other studio wasn't nice, but I don't know. Just felt like I wanted to give this room another go again. So, this week on the Unfltered Podcast, I have got Snehali in the studio with me. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure you coming through. Why don't you give the audience just a little introduction about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Snehali. I'm 37 years old.
Doesn't look it.
And I'm a teacher full-time.
Yep.
Recently started blogging on Instagram about my infertility journey. We have been going through infertility and IVF and all of that for about 6 years now, just over 6 years. Last year, I had quite a traumatic miscarriage, and then it was that point where I said, you know, if I don't speak up about it, I'm just not going to heal. So this is actually part of my healing journey, breaking the stigma about IVF and infertility in the Asian community. So thank you for having me, because I think this is a really important conversation.
It is a very, very important conversation. I feel like sometimes these kind of taboo topics, as we call them, don't get discussed into the detail that they should, and I'm glad you're here so we can have this conversation today. I know you did a little bit of research as well on Instagram, and we'll get into that as well.
Yeah.
But I'm taking this for myself right now. It's my podcast. I could do what I like. You mentioned you're a teacher.
Yes.
Would you teach?
I teach biology and psychology.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What? Like
high school.
High school.
Mainly A level.
Okay. Only reason why I want to just prompt you on this, because I've spoken about it so many times, that how I feel the education in the UK can be improved so much more in regards to like mental health and well-being and teaching some of these subjects. This is just purely out of my curiosity. Is there anything going on behind the scenes in regards to improving that within our education system?
Yeah, I mean, I've been teaching now for 12 years. I've seen a massive change, and especially post-COVID. Mental health, you know, we're not talking about mental health just for the students, but for the staff. Like the whole ethos of schools now is gearing towards promoting healthy conversations about mental health.
Yeah.
There's a lot of awareness, and there's a lot of things put in place now where we can actually openly talk about mental health. And it's quite funny you said that, because me being a psychology teacher, I am all about encouraging conversations with males.
Yeah. Okay.
And I told you this before. That's why I reached out to you. We need males to start talking about all sorts.
Yeah.
So.
Nah, fair.
Yeah.
Do you cover, like, I'm not sure whether or not it's covered within psychology or general within school assemblies, whatever. Like, are there conversations now around some of the life skills that I never got taught when I was at school? Maybe you never got taught at school, in terms of, like, say, rejection, insecurities, confidence, stuff like that. Is that being introduced in some way?
You will be blown away with the sort of stuff that students are taught now. I think this is part of PSHE. It might be part of different syllabus within psychology or whatever, or whole school ethos. You know, even things about sexual health, right? It's not the old school, you know, this is a period, this is this. Sorry, but it's not like that anymore. It's all about, you know, what a healthy relationship looks like. Consent. You know, that's a big one there. There's a lot going on in education.
What does PSHE stand for?
Personal, social, health education.
Okay, cool. I have to just go quiet while there. Only reason I'm asking, because I think we used to have a subject like that, and we all just saw it as like a DOS around class.
Yeah.
I think I even used to get allowed absence from that class to go and do table tennis, because I was part of the table tennis team at the time at school.
Oh, okay, fine.
And so could have got nationals. I did go to a national tournament, but I gave that up because I kind of wanted to focus on studying.
Why?
Why did I give it up?
Talk about you now.
Oh, no. It was fun, but it was just like, kept leaving class to do this, and then it was like, didn't get much of a summer holidays and stuff like that, but yeah. Anyway, interesting. I bang on it to my, I've got family members who are like professors, and they're in education, and they love what I do on the podcast and some of the conversations I have. But I always feel that, like, if I could ever go back to school and start educating kids in regards to the things that I never got taught, how to get through if a girl breaks up with you, or if a guy breaks up with you, or how to deal with difficulties that are going on at home, how to let your teachers know so that you can possibly get more support and help and not feel a certain kind of way. If you see kids coming in with the latest clothing and you haven't got that and not feeling a certain kind of way in comparisons, if that can get taught a lot more earlier, or at least somewhat brought to the surface rather than just left behind closed doors, it'd make a big difference. I think it would have made a big difference to me and the kids that I used to grow up with. So, thanks for sharing that.
No problem. Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Into, let's go straight into the infertility journey.
Yes.
Something that that's been going on for you for like 6 years, you mentioned.
Yeah. Just over 6 years, yeah.
Let's get unfiltered with that.
So, I mean, where do you want me to start? I think, first of all, I kind of want to start with the fact that, growing up, right, you always think, I don't know if you know, but have you ever had that uncle or aunt that never had kids and you always refer to them as, the ones that never had kids, right? Do you know what I'm talking about when they come up in conversations or family friends, right?
Yeah.
And you always think, oh, poor them.
To some degree, or I used to ask the questions like, why haven't they had kids yet?
Yeah, and then you never think that's ever going to be you, because what are the conversations you have growing up?
Yeah.
It's never about sexual health for males, right? For females, it's always about sexual health. Oh, you're on your period, how to make your period regular, how to do this. So we get that from the beginning, but you never actually think you're going to be in that situation where you can't have kids. You always assume it's going to be a given thing.
Yeah.
You spend most of your 20s avoiding that situation, right? Not having kids when you don't want to. We spent most of our first 3 years of our marriage thinking we're not even going to have kids. We do everything not to have kids, right? We don't want it to get in our way of traveling or whatever it is, right? Yeah. And then drop of the hat, you're like, okay, we're ready for kids. And you expect that to happen straight away. And that was me. I'm a biology teacher. I should have a little bit more. I'm a little bit more informed on how things work. But even then, I was just like, when I want kids, I'm going to have kids. And that, I tell you, was probably one of the most heartbreaking situations, to realise that actually that uncle and auntie that I used to refer to when I was younger, that's actually me now.
You all right?
Yeah.
Sure?
Yeah.
I can hear it in your voice. So it's all good. If you feel uncomfortable, you know what you got to do.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
What's it like for you right now, looking back on it? Obviously, like you said, as a child, you'd see those uncles and aunts, and now you're in the shoes of possible those uncles and aunts. Like, what's that?
Yeah. It's you can go two ways with this, right? You've either got to have a positive outlook, and I'll tell you one thing: it's my husband that has been the most positive out of the both of us. He literally says to me, like, so what if we can't have kids? We can do this. So what if we can't have their kids? Let's go and do this. And he's the one who's always said to me, do you want to swap your life for anyone else right now?
It's a very powerful question.
It's so powerful. And if I then think about it, no, I don't want to be anyone else right now. I wouldn't want to swap my marriage for anyone else's. I don't want to swap my career for anyone else's. So actually, I'm happy in my life.
Yeah.
Just having a child now is going to add to it.
Yeah.
And I think having that mentality that's what's kept me going.
Yeah.
But I want to be really clear that this mentality took a long time to
I'm going to say,
get to it.
Because the number of people I've spoken to, and I've tried to dig into this conversation, because you're not in life, you're dealt a set of hand, or you're dealt cards, and in your hand right now, they might not be the cards that you want to play the game with.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that for certain people, you may not be able to have kids.
Yeah.
But before we even get to that stage, we're trying to chase to get married and get into a relationship very quickly and follow what everyone else is doing. And all of those comparisons can really get to us. And like, it then comes to a point where, like you said right now, 3 years, you were chilling, and now you find yourself in this position where it's a bit like, oh shit, like, now what kind of thing?
Now what? Yeah.
And that now what comes from, I feel, the pressures that we put upon ourselves and what society puts on ourselves
100%.
and what we possibly put on ourselves at a young age. Oh, I'm going to do that later on.
Yeah.
And we don't think about possibly the repercussions that could arise on the back end of our body just saying, maybe it's not your calling kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like saying having children, if it's not an option or if it's not something that can biologically work, kind of a bit like what your husband has echoed on, there are other ways, right?
100%.
And the big question I like throwing out to women that I've spoken to, what's the general importance of you having your own child? I spoke to Nikita about it. I said, explain that to me.
This is the question I've been battling with for a long time. And to be honest, this is something I've probably not even discussed with a lot of people close to me. I think, like you said, it's the pressure. It's that given that you're going to grow up, you're going to do this, you're going to get married, you're going to have kids. It's that expectation that we're all brought up with.
Yeah.
And if we hadn't had that expectation, or if we didn't just go through life thinking that's what we have to do, then we'd have that opportunity to sit back and think, well, what is it that I actually want?
Yeah.
And, you know, again, when it comes to having biological children, my husband very early on in our relationship said, when we have our own kids, at some point I want to adopt. That was even before we knew we were going to have issues. So at the back of my mind, I know that I'm going to have a family one way or the other because my husband's very open to adopting. You know, he literally has said to me, why do you want to do this to yourself again? Why do you want to go through IVF again? He's seen me at my lowest. He's seen me go through the physical, the emotional drama. He just says to me, look, there are options. And I'm the one who's saying, at the moment, I've still got the biological clock is still on my side at the moment. I want to go through it again. But again, there's no conversations about Asians openly talking about adoption.
Yeah. It's you know, it's funny you said that. And, you know, if your husband was here, I'd be doing that right now. Just spuds all around, because I think I think I mentioned it to my ex-girlfriend at uni, young and in love. But I said, like, later down in life, like, I'd love to adopt one day. I'm not even going to lie. And if I'm correct, I'm sure she said at the same time as well, that would definitely be something that she'd be up for doing as well. Young and etc. It is what it is. But like, I look at it from an angle where the question I like throwing out to clients I have who are trying to rush a relationship to have kids, etc., start a family, etc., all of that stuff, it's, you're not identifying the real reason why. You want to be a mother, you want to be a father.
Yeah.
Explain that to me in greater detail, because what you won't realize right now, there are kids around the world who love to have someone who'd love them, adore for them, provide them with opportunities that they never had. What's this need, this desire to have your own? Like, I'm not saying that there isn't an answer, but help me understand that a bit more. And I feel like some people can't get that across. And that's why it's one of those interesting topics, because if for whatever reason I don't happen to find a girlfriend, I don't happen to find a partner and have a happily ever after, there's no reason why I can't still have that happily ever after if I want kids. Yeah. I can go and adopt. Yeah. I can put myself out there. I'm not sure what the process is like, but there's no reason why I can't go down that avenue. But it intrigues me a lot to understand the biological reasons why we want this.
Well, I mean, you could argue that that's something we're born with. It's an innate thing to want. I mean, the human race is going because we have that innate idea of reproducing. But then we could argue that socially, actually, we pick and choose what we want to do. So let that biological factor that we have be there. Yeah. But socially, I think we can do a lot more now by being open, having conversations, by having the freedom to think, what is it that I really want? Yeah. And we can override that biological need to have biological children. Yeah.
Well, like, another thing that I'm not sure if I've specifically spoken to pet owners on this pod. But like, for me, like, I know for a fact, if I have a dog, and that is the plan one day to have a dog or a couple, like, best believe if my dog wants to sleep next to me any day of the week, come through. I'm giving it cuddles, snuggles, all of that shit, right? Now, that's an animal. Yep. Yeah, I'm treating it like family. Yes. If not, maybe better than family in certain scenarios, like the treatment that dog's going to get. I'm not trying to compare a child now to a dog, but what I'm trying to say is that if I can provide that element of love for this animal, that it's going to get everything that I could possibly provide for it, I haven't biologically made that.
No, you haven't. Yeah.
So make it make sense to me to why you need a child right now.
Exactly. You know, and 100%, I've got 2 dogs. We got our first dog, Rafa, during lockdown. And lockdown was the hardest part because we was really early in our infertility journey. Yeah. started our IVF, and just to be told that we have no idea when we're going to restart because all the clinics shut, etc.
Understandably.
We sat at home, you know, house felt empty. My husband was like, we're getting a dog. If we don't do it now. Yeah, I know.
I love your husband.
Yeah. If we don't do it now, it's never going to happen. Yeah. Right. So we got Rafa. And it was when Rafa came into our house, I realized that I'm going to be okay. Rafa is a dog, right? Like you said, nothing to do with me biologically, but he's my baby. I'm his mum.
It's weird, right? It's so weird.
And then we got Indy, and she loves me even more than Rafa. And I am a mum. I am a mum to my 2 little fur babies at home. And when you realise that kind of love, you realise that actually a young child, if I can love a dog this much, a young child is just going to bring me so much more joy. Do you know what I mean? So you're right.
So much more joy or the same amount of joy?
Oh, I feel bad. I feel bad. I think more. No, okay. I'm going to be more.
Fair. So then that is a real desire to have a child then.
Yeah.
Over a pet. Fair play. I just find it interesting because it's like there are things that I would like. I've realized when I was young, this is my ideal kid situation. I wanted son, twins, and then a daughter. As I've grown up right now, I think my first child I'd love to have would be a daughter. Don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I've got like younger cousins and niece and nephews and stuff, but I feel I've gravitated now towards just wanting to have like a little baby girl. But when or whenever that happens is its own story. And if that doesn't happen, okay, cool. Like there's other alternatives and ways of making that happen. But nah, I'm glad we have this part of this conversation.
Yeah, I think how often do people think about these things before they even get into a long-term relationship, right? It's like, I think you as a guy need to know exactly what you're happy with, what you're willing to accept in the future. It's the same for females, right? Yeah. And a lot of the time we just never have these conversations. You get married and you just assume, we're going to be good. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I don't know whether or not you can answer this. When I look at, let's say, having kids, and if that wasn't an option, or the situation where I've got kids and I'd still decided to adopt, my adopted child will never feel a lack of like love towards them versus a biological child. Yeah, I will make it very, very clear that it's equal. So what I try to, articulate to my clients when I have these conversations in regards to like why you really want children, it's like this desire to just rush this process and settle to some degree just to have a family, etc. I'm like, why do you really want kids? That make it very, very clear. Because if you can't have them, or say you can have them, and you just haven't got the right person, you're still dealing with trauma, etc. There are other avenues that you can explore, but you're letting culture and society and all of this other nonsense get in the way to why you can't start that process. If you feel like you're ready to have a kid right now, like what's stopping you going to adopt if you're in a situation where you can't? Yeah. It just doesn't make sense.
I mean, it almost becomes like a tick box activity, isn't it? Got the degree, got married, got a child. Do you know? Yeah. And now it's not. I think we are changing a lot now. Our generation is seeing a massive change, massive shift. I'm a teacher, but do I think that going to uni is the only option now? No. Yeah. Right? So like that, do I think, marriage served a purpose hundreds of years ago, even decades ago, right? Now, does it serve the same purpose?
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know.
Same. So it's
And it's an interesting world we're in right now. I feel like as we're moving on in life, things are becoming acceptable. But I feel, despite the fact that things become acceptable, people still feel they are not enough because of the things they don't have. And i.e. with children, it's a big topic. I want to just go back a few more steps. When you talked about your journey, you mentioned your husband asking you Why do you want to go through that physical and emotional drama or have that damage again? Why do you want to go through with it?
I think for me is I don't want to look back and think, oh, I didn't try hard enough. I think that's the only thing, because I know that after I'm 40, you know, things are going to get difficult. The chances of IVF definitely plummet. And I just don't want to look back and think I didn't try hard enough. No regrets. That's what I want.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Is it worth going through that?
That's a massive question, isn't it? Because at the moment, when cycles don't work and you're throwing money left, right and centre for, you know, the simplest injection or the simplest tablet, and you go through months and months of tracking and doing all of that, invasive treatments, and nothing comes about, you just think, was it all worth it?
Would you feel incomplete if, touch wood, it didn't work in your favour?
I think early on in my journey I would have.
Yeah.
But now I can see that had I not gone through what we've gone through, I don't think I would have been as fulfilled as I am. And that's it's a crazy thing to say, because how can I be fulfilled when the one thing I want I'm still chasing, right?
Yeah. Again, I think in this conversation so far, we've established that what you're chasing doesn't necessarily have to come from one area in particular.
Yeah.
So
and that's the realization, isn't it?
How have you got there? Because I feel like one thing that's missing in this conversation right now is these golden nuggets or this learning journey that you've been on.
Yeah.
To be able to accept things might not work in favor in life in any area, right? But we don't just stop and we find other alternatives and we keep that needle moving forward.
Yeah. How have I got there? I think I've mentioned him. I'm going to stop mentioning him now after this. Okay?
Big up, hubby. Let's go.
Okay, no, I'm going to, after this, I'm not mentioning him. It's him. Yeah. It's my husband. He's not once ever put pressure on. And you know what? He's given me the confidence to accept what is going on and to own it.
Yeah.
And in this journey, he's the one who said, well, if you can't have a child now, what else can you do? Right. We got 2 dogs. Can't have kids now. What else can you do? Started up my business. Can't have kids now. What else can you do? We traveled.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So he's shown me that there is more to life. And actually, it's finding your one person. Finding your one person. And it could be a husband, it could be your like a best friend, it could be a colleague that turns into a friend. Just having that one person in your life that gives you that confidence, that boost to say, actually, you're fine where you are.
Could you have done it without your husband?
No.
So what if you're in a position right now, like you said, finding a colleague, a best friend? I feel like your relationship with your husband probably epitomizes the credentials for a best friend, the ultimate support. If you're in a position right now where you're single, you've got no avenues, you've got no real friends out there to that degree, you've got no romantic companions to that degree, what do you do then?
Family helps. Family, and again, you probably look at me like, oh, here it goes. From my in-laws and from my mum and dad, the pressure of having children has never been there.
Yeah.
Again, it's that same encouragement. You know, it's not the right time now.
So let me put you in the shoes of a lovely lady right now who's got pressures from her mum and dad. She's single. She's got an okay friendship group.
Yeah.
Has a job which is okay, fine. In her mid-30s, in a similar boat to you. What does she have to start doing?
That's a difficult question. It's a really hard question. I don't know what she needs to do, but I know there are people in that situation. I know there are people in marriages where the husband is not supportive during the IVF journey. I know in-laws put this pressure on, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? This is why it's not happening. Your own family puts pressure on. I know that because I've started opening up about this on Instagram. I've now got a little group, a little community where I've got females who are in their 30s or 20, whatever it is. They're talking about IVF, and we've got this little safe space where we talk. And my heart breaks for some of those girls who just say, me and my husband aren't on the same page. You know, this happened and this is what my in-laws said to me.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. And the only thing I can do is just be there to listen and guide them as best as I can.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for that.
No. And it's a case where, like, I think despite the story that you've lived and the journey you've still got, for some people listening in, they might think, rah, I wish I had a bit of what she's got in her life right now. How do I get closer to that? And this is why I enjoy like podcasts that talk about conversations like this, because the responses I get is, that's helped shit. You know what? I'm going through something similar. I can now reach out to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a conversation with you because I'm going through something similar or something of a completely different degree. And you might have some answers which could help this individual. So, I don't like pointing people directly to, there is always professional assistance you can go and obtain. You can go to a therapist, you can go to a coach, mentors, counselors, etc. I think the beautiful thing around the world we live in today, there are so many avenues for you to like go and explore and get a bit uncomfortable, but find a network which can help you through. It doesn't necessarily have to be the one thing of generally going to a therapist or trying to get married so you have that. It doesn't work like that. Like I went to, it's going to sound funny, I went to a single dating event this weekend.
Yeah. How was it?
I had a sick time. I really loved it. I was so apprehensive about it, but going there knowing that everyone there was ideally in the same boat, single,
you're not
either
alone.
come alone or they may have come with a friend.
Yeah.
People just randomly speaking to other people. It was an interesting space to be in. I feel like if stuff like that was readily available for people who are going through IVF, people who are going through traumatic relationships or what like, we live in a world right now where that's very, very applicable and available. All it takes is you setting up a group and seeing who then comes about. So, no, fair. I didn't expect you to have an answer. It was just more of a case of if there was anything you had.
And talking about therapy and stuff, like, you know, there's a place for it, and I totally get why people might turn to therapy. But one of the things I struggle with is I might be talking to a therapist about my infertility journey, but they haven't been through it.
That's the thing.
So how are they going to guide me?
Hey, I'm a coach and I've helped people get through their relationships, divorces, struggles in marriages, and I'm like, I ain't been through any of that. But the answers never lie within me. The answers always lie within you. A therapist's job, from my understanding, isn't to give you an answer. It's more of a case of to point you in a direction or help you start doing the things that you already know you should be doing, that you're not doing. And it's making you aware of why you're not doing those things. But no, it's interesting. It is interesting. So the journey continues right now.
It does continue. We are exploring our options again. I definitely do want to do IVF again, but you know, we've had some hiccups with the clinics we've been in. I've not been 100% satisfied with that. And you know, when you're paying so much money, you want to make sure you're getting the care that you want.
How expensive is it? Just out of curiosity, you don't have to give me an exact number, but
very expensive.
What's a ballpark?
So far to date, probably thrown about 28 grand.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it varies because it depends on condition. It depends on how far you have to. But that's what we're looking at so far. And again, I'm talking from a place of privilege.
Yeah.
Because you can get IVF on the NHS once. Yeah. You're lucky if you can get it second time round. But what do couples do when they can't then afford it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I feel you. Damn. That's throwing me off a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Some people that could be like a house deposit.
100%.
Fair. Well, I just want to give a little round of applause to your husband as well for being as much of a support as he has been.
He is.
Like, if you're watching this right now, bro,
yeah,
love for you, because it's nice knowing you've got that support. And for anyone out there who doesn't feel like they can't look, there are people like our husband out there. You know. Believe is what we're saying.
He's not on Instagram or anything, so you'd have to get through to me to speak to him.
But now, one of the things we spoke about behind the cameras, we had that conversation last week, was talking about it from like both perspectives.
Yeah.
And I know when you initially came up with the conversation, one thing that went off in my mind was in regards to friends, Monica and Chandler. Yeah.
Yep.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Aww.
My man, Matthew Perry. But that story that they went through, and again, never thought anything like that would ever happen to them.
Yeah.
And it turned out, if I'm correct, it was a story on both ends.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, from our conversation we had, it's, from your perspective, always a woman's problem versus a man's problem. Yeah.
I think the stats, now don't quote me directly on this, but it's around 30% of infertility cases are female related only. 30% are male only, and about another 30% is both.
Yeah.
Right? I know it doesn't all make up 100%, but
It's in
around that. Yeah. So if you were to then break that down, it's like male or female infertility is 50-50, male factor or female factor. But it's always the woman. It's always the woman. Like, let me ask you a question, right? Growing up. Yeah. Did anyone have any conversations with you about your sexual health? When I say anyone, like parents. No.
I think the only thing that I'd get joked around with is just make sure you're protected. We don't want any grandkids early.
There you go. Yeah.
That was the only thing. And then now it's a question of when we're having grandkids. I'm like, well, let me find someone first. Relax.
Yeah. So for a female, conversations about her sexual health starts the day she starts her period.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, do this so you have a regular flow. Do this so you're okay. You know, so we're already exposed to that. And then it's all about, you know, like you said, you know, we live in a world now where the younger generation are quite open about having relationships and stuff like that, right? So it's all about protection. It's all about making sure you're looking after your sexual health from that point of view. But no one ever sits you down and says, right, this is going to be good for your fertility.
Yeah.
Look after your fertility.
I don't think I've had anyone ever tell me about things I should or should not be doing.
Exactly.
From a guy's perspective, to be honest.
Yeah. And all the professionals right now, and I'm quoting what a consultant had said, they're scratching their heads as to why there's a big rise in male factor infertility, while why sperm count for males is now reducing. You know, they actually had to bring down, you know, like how they have the average, they have an average sperm count. Yeah. Over the decades, they've had to bring that average sperm count lower because sperm count is on the decline. Or whether it's sperm count or sperm motility or any of that. Who tells you this? No one tells you. Yeah? I
see stuff on like certain podcasts where they're talking about the pros and cons of, like, say, like, I'm just going to throw out there, like masturbation and stuff like that. Right. But no one ever tells you the ins and outs of what could happen if you don't do things a certain way.
Yeah.
Like you said, you painted this fairy tale in your mind that do what you like, years time when you're ready to settle down, it will just happen. You'll have all the kids you want, etc., etc. But no one ever like educated me, not that I've ever been in the situation where, like, say for instance, you happen to get a partner you're with pregnant. What happens if you don't want the kid in the moment, or what happens to the woman's body if you go through a certain surgery or treatment? There are so many things that just don't get spoken about, and at a younger age you're just ignorant to it, I suppose, or oblivious to it. Oblivious to it. Yeah, my English is terrible. But later down the line, it's a case of when you're put into those positions, it's like, oh shit, because of X, Y, and Z, once upon a time, now it means, oh, damn.
Yeah. Like there's, again, like you've got to read the research around it, but I'm sure we are exposed to so much in the food that we eat.
Yeah.
That is having a knock-on effect on our infertility.
Ooh, swear. That what, as an example?
Processed meats.
Okay.
And by the way, I'm not saying that I eat clean.
Yeah,
right?
no,
If you
100%,
bring
yeah.
KFC to me right now, I'm eating that.
I should have said it. We could have got a little bucket, a little bit of gravy,
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot there. But I just, it's a conversation to be had. And I think males now really need to take this on board as well. Because as females, we're very aware, at a certain point, our egg count's going to decline. At a certain point, if our periods aren't regular, is there something else that's going on?
Yeah.
There's so many women who are going through not even having a diagnosis for endometriosis, which is a huge part of someone's fertility or daily health. So we're very much aware of that, but males aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that when people talk about PCOS? Is that similar?
Yeah. Polycystic ovaries and.
Is that all similar to it?
All of that.
I see a lot of influencers
related.
talk about this kind of thing. So yeah.
And it's not necessarily that's the reason why you can't have a child, but it's all related to a woman's sexual and general health.
No, it's interesting. It is interesting, and it's like, I think there's this fine element of when you're growing up that you want to just live your life to the best you can and not think about too far into the future. But I suppose this element of education would be very helpful.
Yeah.
But it is a topic, I suppose, if you're brought up at school.
Yep.
Can it be taken seriously, or can it be really digested in a way where it's going to hit home so that you think about these things later on in life?
It's interesting you said that, because last year in January, I had a massive miscarriage.
Yeah.
I was off work. So even my students were like, where's she gone? So I came back to work. And I teach GCSE biology. And week in, guess what one of the topics was? It was IVF.
Okay.
I had to teach that. I had two options. I could have just said to my colleague, you know what? I'm not in the right frame of mind. You teach that lesson for me. But I thought, if I'm really going to start opening up and talking about this, surely it starts with these 30 kids that I've got in front of me. I taught that class. I had 5 females, 25 males in that class. And I told them, look, we're going to learn about IVF. Who's the best person to teach you about this? It's me, because this is what's happened. I was away last week or the week before. This is the reason why. And I told them the reason. I said, I want to educate you guys because I don't want you to think that it's never going to happen to you or it's something that can't happen to you. And when I first started teaching the lesson, within 5 minutes, male banter, right? We start hearing comments like, oh, are you shooting blanks? This, that, the other, right? Sorry, I have to do it in that voice. And I said to them, I wasn't angry, but I said to them, this is the reason
reality.
why I am talking to you guys. You cannot talk about things like, you cannot treat comments like that as banter.
You can't, no. The reason why I'm laughing is because it's like being in school. I remember conversations like that. And it's like, even when people take the piss in like comedy kind of like standpoints, shooting blanks is another a comment that gets thrown out.
Yeah.
But to someone who actually has to go through it,
I'm not even saying kids only say that.
Why not adults?
Yeah. Guys, adults, when they're with their mates, like, oh, come on, man, why are you not having kids now? Blah, blah, blah. Like I was, sorry, I'm jumping from another conversation.
No, you're not, Karen.
I was we went to Goa over Christmas. We were on the plane, and we were separated. So my husband was a few seats ahead of me. I had a group of young guys going to Goa as well behind me. They were all Indian. Probably in their mid-20s to 30s. And they were talking. They were just like, they would not leave this one guy alone saying, oh, why have you not had kids yet? And, then they would start, in Hindi saying things like, oh, you're doing it right. You know how to do it and stuff, right? And this guy, he just, I turned around and I looked at his face and he just put his music on, closed his eyes, and he just did not participate in their conversation. Yeah. And my heart went out to him because I just thought, I bet him and his wife are going through something.
Yeah.
And then
I feel like what people don't realize when they throw out these conversations, like, do you not think I'm trying? Do you think I not want kids?
Yeah.
Like, so why are you taking the piss further? And I feel like it's an educational journey that as a society we need to go around.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. I also know that like when I was at school, I wasn't possibly best educated around topics like this. So I might have made comments every now and then. But I also know now when I listen to comments that get made, I'm like, yo, you lot can't say this kind of stuff. It's not, you can't just throw words like that anymore as if it's fun. It's not. The people go through certain shit like, but yeah, you're right. There's still a big part of education that still needs to be drawn in to the everyday person.
And I think now, you know, those kind of harmless jokes that you think are funny.
Yeah.
Just be conscious and just read the room a little bit.
Of course. But you know? it's this is the problem, and I feel like because it doesn't get taught at school to some degree, is talking about people's feelings and emotions and why it can like really affect people later down the line. Like these kids right now who are possibly laughing, don't get me wrong, when I was a kid, if you heard stuff like that, I think there was times where we used to get like taught like sex education and stuff, and people would like throw condoms around, laughing around and stuff like that, and it's like kids just being kids. But until you dig a little deeper and help people understand the true harsh realities of what life can throw at you, if you don't take things seriously or just be a bit more empathetic towards certain things, it'll throw a lot of shit your way when the tables are turned. So let's not put ourselves in positions where that can happen to us and then play the victim card. But let's also just be conscious and aware that yo, you might be laughing right now, but you might not realize it. Maybe your auntie and uncle might be going through something right now. That's not something you want to just go and tell them, laugh about kind of thing, because don't know what they're going through. I hear you. You mentioned your I don't know if you want to talk about it, your miscarriage. How are you?
I'm okay. I think I'm much better. I'm able to talk about it a lot more now.
Were you early on into your...
I was about over 4 months.
Okay.
So at that point it was, you know, you wait until 3 months. And then you start thinking, okay, now I've passed that little, you know, barrier where now I'm okay. I can start telling people. And the closest around me knew. But at 4 months, I was just thinking, I've got this now. And it's just nothing. There were no signs, no symptoms. My waters just broke. And then obviously I was in hospital. We had to then make a decision whether we terminate the baby or not, because my infection risk was being elevated. Sepsis could set in any moment. It was really, really traumatic. So again, it was that choice, like, you know, we got to 4 months and now the doctors aren't saying you've miscarried. They're saying the baby won't survive. We suggest you terminate. So, you know, then we're taking that decision in our hands. Like, we've wanted this for so long. Now we're going out of our way now to terminate this pregnancy just so that it's not going to affect my health. But yeah, I mean, I can talk about it now because, like I said, I've come out the other end where I've talked, I'm open, and that's been my healing process. And I realised I'm not the only one that's gone through this. But when that happened, I thought, who's going through this? You know, I'm going through IVF. I had years of this. We've done this. We've done that. I finally thought we got there, and now this has happened. But it's only when you open up, you realise that I'm not the only one that this has happened to. Yeah. So I think that little group that I told you about, that's been my support network as well.
Sure, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you think back, you think about it and you think, oh, God, I went through all that, but I'm okay.
When I asked Meher this question, it's like, it just changed. And I had to read the room a little bit, and I was like, I've never been through it. I know of family relatives who have miscarried, not just on one occasion. And so at the time when I'm not educated enough to understand what they're going through, when I speak to people and I hear it, you can respect the pain, you can respect the frustrations, the questions they ask to the higher beings, why me, etc. Why are you putting me through this? And it's like, I'm not, and I want to ask the question, it's quite like heavy loaded. Are you okay? Yeah. It's not an easy answer to say, yeah, I'm fine, or I'm.
But that's what you say, isn't it? Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, it's so fine. I'm okay. I'm fine. Everything's fine. But it's just one of those things that sometimes it's like reading the room. Like, has someone asked me because they really want to know if I'm okay? And then, by the way, take a seat, let me tell you. Or is it just like, oh, you're right? Yeah.
I'm genuinely asking.
No, I know. Yeah. I know you are. But like sometimes you just think like, when do I tell people my story? So I think putting it out on a public forum, people can pick and choose whether they want to read it or not, or stick by it or not.
I think you've got a very, very unique story. And I think your story will help a lot of people who go through this. But I also want to condemn you for how brave you are in regards to, like, one, not giving up, pushing yourself and trying to come back stronger. I'd also always say, because I've had a number of people here who are great at being support for everyone else and for themselves. They don't offer that to themselves. So I had a guy called Nikhil come on here and he talked about how he's a physio. I'm like, bro, you offer all of this help and assistance to all your clients. When are you doing that for yourself in regards to all the trauma you've been through? Met her when I spoke to her and I was like, I love what you're doing for everyone else, but are you taking that time for yourself? Because respectfully, it's great what you do, but at the same time, you're allowed to feel a certain way and you're allowed to also ask for help as well. And if you're not okay, be brave enough to ask for it.
Yeah.
Be like the people you support, because someone will be there for you.
Yeah.
I hope there is. I know your husband is a great support guide, but in the event where you feel like you might require more, or if you're keeping it hidden right now, I do hope that you're able to find that support. Because
thank you. And I think, again, I consider myself as one of the lucky ones. I think the reason why I've pushed through the way I have is because I've had a really good support network. I've got, like I said, my parents, my in-laws, friends. I'm blessed to be in circles where people really want me to do well and to want to see me win. And it's genuine, so.
I feel you. Well, no, big thank you. Where can everyone reach out to you? I'm going to put it all up on there on the YouTube.
Yeah. So I think Instagram is the first platform. It's @Snehali. Just reach out, DM me, do whatever, tell me whatever or as little as you want. And I do have these groups. So once I kind of have a conversation, I'll be happy to add them onto the groups if they need to, etc.
Yeah.
So.
No, thank you. And lastly, before we kind of like wrap things up, was there anything that came up through the Instagram chat that you think's worth discussing? It just came up to me right now. I had it written down here.
I think, like I said, it's encouraging these conversations within the male groups. So let's have these healthy conversations. If you're in a friendship group and, you're all married and you're having kids and you've got that one friend who isn't quite there yet, think about what you're saying. Yeah. And also just, I think we don't mean to say things like, oh, when are you having kids or when are you doing this? But just be a little bit wary. I don't want to be the police of words.
But you are right, because it's a case of it's a change in a sentence can make the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Asking someone, when are you having kids, can be like, what the fuck do you think I'm doing? Versus,
are kids on the cards for you?
Yeah. How are things at home?
Yeah.
Is everything all right? Is anything are you okay?
Yeah.
Wording it ever so slightly differently.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what's the best way of asking the question. When are you having kids?
Are kids on the cards for you? Are you thinking?
Would you like kids one day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I would love kids one day. It's just I talk about it
right
privately,
now.
but and I feel like that's a very nicer way of doing things.
Exactly.
That conversation you said that these guys had on a plane.
Yeah.
I feel like that's very, very common and things possibly get thrown out. Yeah. It'd have been great to have your husband here, I'm not going to lie, because I feel like what would have been a very interesting conversation to have would be generally to get that guy's perspective on things as well, because I think I can hear it from a woman's perspective, all the shit that she has to deal with.
Yeah.
And like those questions in regards to what it does to a guy's mental health, if he's the reason, if it's a mutual thing and he feels like, yo, I'm meant to be this provider for this family and I'm not able to, like, I
definitely think he does feel, by the way, he does, I'm pretty sure he feels that he can't sometimes get upset because I'm not upset. Do you know, the minute I'm upset, he feels it.
Yeah.
But he's never going to say, I'm upset about this. How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Because it's just not programmed in him to have that conversation.
Yeah. Maybe in the future I get more conversations like that.
And just one more thing. Like, one thing is also our generation, we have a responsibility to speak to the older generation, like our parents and our aunties, you know. Just say to them what's accepted and what's not. Just say to them, don't go to couples and say, oh, I don't see any progress. Because, quote, that's literally been something that's said to us. When are you having kids? Educate them to say that, actually, you know what, you wouldn't ask me, or I don't like that question, so don't go and ask other people that question.
I said that with Leah. Talked about not necessarily having kids, but relationships.
Yeah.
And I said, if someone was to ask me the question right now, and for whatever reason I felt, yo, I'm healing, is that a good enough example for you?
Yeah.
To why I'm not ready to be in a relationship? I'm still missing my ex, or I'm still going through this right now, or my head's not in the right space. Is that fair on that person? And like, being able to answer it from that angle versus getting defensive about it goes a long way. And I think what people fail to realize nowadays is, and I'm talking about, let's say us, they may never change, but we don't have to get offended by the questions that get thrown our way. And we can help educate them by not being defensive, but being brave enough and vulnerable enough to let them know exactly what we're going through. And if they don't understand, fine. We're not trying to help make people get it from our perspective. As long as we don't let that affect us, that's the most important thing. But nah, big thank you coming through.
Thank you.
I feel like we could have explored this conversation a lot more. And I'm trying to say, honestly, you're a very, very brave individual. And
Thank you.
I'm hoping things work out very well for you. And thank you for getting unfiltered.
Yeah, maybe Jag will be back soon.
Sweet.
No, thank you for having me.
Thanks again for listening. It's been your boy, Uncle Pre. It's always a pleasure to be in the studio and record with my guests. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. And if you like stuff like this, please do like, comment and subscribe. It helps me take the podcast to a place where I can definitely bring in more people that are going to resonate with you, whether it's their stories, whether it's their journey, whether it's just something that they're going through right now. So definitely like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. And much appreciated you staying in here. I love everyone that comes through, and I love all the comments and feedback that I get, so keep that coming through. It's been your boy Uncle Pre, and I'm signing out. Peace.